Wonderful. Can you guys hear me? Because Emily was breaking up a little bit at the end. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, Jim, you're loud and clear. You're right. Emily was a little breaky uppy, but you're loud and clear.
If everybody could mute themselves, that'd be wonderful. And the first thing I want to say is I want to congratulate each of you. I know it's a journey to get to this part of your education, and you should be very proud of yourself. And depending which state you live in, only about 8% of the U.S. population has a graduate degree. On the East Coast, it's a little more than that. And the West Coast, it's a little more, but in the Central, it's about that average. And so you should be proud of your accomplishment. You put yourself in a very different, group of folks as you start to look for positions to grow your career and advancement or promotion. And so I know that this class could be a bit daunting as you start to look at it, but tonight we're going to break it down in a manageable way. We have all the professors that teach the course here tonight. That's Dr. Ems, Dr. Menon, and myself. And so the course is broken into core components. Number one, the virtual team. And I know anytime people feel that they have to work with teams online, they feel a lot of anxiety, or some people feel anxiety because it's difficult. We know that, but employers are looking for that skill today. So think about that as you start to get going. And we find in this particular class that the teams do work very well together because everybody's motivated to finish their whole part of it. If you could mute yourself, I appreciate it, everyone. Can you guys hear me all right?
Yes.
Okay, great. And so we randomly select the teams for the most part. However, we consider the concentrations the students are in so the teams are balanced. And so we do our best to do that, but sometimes that's not entirely possible. But we do our best when we set up the different courses and the different teams to do that. The virtual teams are for several weeks of the course, really the first 5 weeks intensity of the course, and you'll be finishing up in the 6th week. But what you'll be doing is working on a simulation. And a simulation is running a company, and you're going to be running a virtual company selling sensors. And Dr. Menon and Dr. Ems have worked with this simulation for a long time, and they understand it. And I know it can be a bit intimidating as you start. But the gist of the simulation is that you are running a business. And in that business, you are making very important decisions as a team. So the first 5 weeks, you'll be working as a team, you're making decisions. And those decisions we call rounds. And there's 2 practice rounds and 5 competition rounds. And those rounds are when you make the decisions. And the decisions that you make on your business would be how much you're going to sell, which segments are you going to be in. So there's a lot of marketing decisions, the price of those products, the quality of those products, whether you're going to use second shift and overtime, and the types of marketing segments that you want to be in, and you have to think about your overall strategy. And so this simulation really gives you an opportunity to make it feel like you're running your business with a group of other executives. One of the biggest lessons of the simulation is that you can't make decisions in a vacuum. Sometimes we have teams and they'll say, "Oh, my marketing decisions were perfect. I don't understand." I had a student send me an email saying, "I know my marketing decisions were perfect. Something's wrong with the simulation." Well, the quality of the products were very poor. You can't sell something, no matter how well you're marketing, if the quality of that product is the worst in the marketplace. So you have to consider all aspects of the business as you're making decisions. And probably the biggest decision that you will make will be how much you're going to produce, and when to make those decisions on updating the product. And so what we find many times is that the teams that struggle produce way too much, or they have poor marketing and they're not serving their niche very well, and so they're not selling the product, or the product is of poor quality. So there's a lot of things to consider there. But the point of this exercise is that you'll be making 5 competition rounds, 2 practice rounds in the beginning. The simulation is not part of Blackboard, but we give you an ID and a link to get there, and it's a third-party simulation. The simulation itself, there's a guidebook that you will look at to learn it. In the beginning, you will go through and do some exercises and the tutorial quiz that you will do to learn the simulation. You want to make sure you do the tutorial and not the introduction quiz. That one we grade you for the first week. But really what we want to make sure you're doing is that you're getting with your team, you understand your roles, you develop a contract among your members, and that's one of the first exercises. And there are peer reviews. There's 2 peer reviews throughout the course, so you're able to review each other, and that review is done through the simulation, and the instructor can see the comments in there, and your score will be affected by that. If you're not a 4 or 5, you won't get the full points for the assignments. And the assignments for the simulation, one interesting aspect is we don't grade you on how well you do in a simulation. Whether you're profitable or you have the most sales, we decided to grade you based on how you articulate your position. And so you're going to be writing a couple papers to your organization and explain where you're at as an organization. What are you doing well? What aren't you doing well? What are some improvements? How are you going to make those improvements? So really understanding your position. And sometimes the teams that don't do very well in the beginning, they can articulate quite well, and they do well on the paper. And so hopefully you can see one of the most important aspects of this simulation is collaborating, being open to feedback from your peers, the meeting times, make sure that you have good systems in place to communicate with each other. You'll have a group discussion board. You can use other forms of communication as long as all members agree to that. But whatever you decide, you need to have consistent communication, just like you would in an organization. And you have to know who's making the decisions, why are they making the decisions, and talk amongst the group as you make those decisions. As I said, it's expected that everybody participates. It's rare that someone doesn't get full points for the peer review, but it does happen. We had a student that said they were just too busy and needed the team to pull their weight. But that's not what this is set up to be. And the number one reason somebody doesn't pass this course is that they get poor peer reviews. And so it's not set up that if this is a busy time for you, it's not meant that you can rely on the team, because it's twofold. If you rely on the team, you'll get poor peer reviews. And then the second aspect of the simulation, the first 5 rounds you do as a team. In week 6, you do it individually, and you do an individual rounds and take an exam. So if you don't understand the simulation and how decisions were made, you are going to be not in very good shape, and probably won't pass the exam in the simulation in week 6. So you want to be very engaged all the way through. The good news to all this is most teams do pretty well, and we have a very high, success rate in this course. So don't think that this course is put in to weed people out at the end. Absolutely not. We want everybody to be successful, and the professors in this course have very high rates of success. But as a student, you can see you have to do your part. And so that's the virtual team part. That's the simulation part. As I said, it'll be the first 5 weeks, and then you'll do the 6th week. You'll do what we call the Comp XM, which is the individual rounds that you'll do, and then also a test, and that is combined for a score, and you'll see a rubric. And then as you're going along with this, then you'll be also doing another project, which we call the Capstone project. So I'll talk about that in a second, but I'm going to stop here and see what kind of questions do you have about the simulation. name of the simulation is called Capstone, and the company that operates it is very service oriented. So if you ever get into a problem of how to navigate it, you're a little confused, or maybe technology is not your strength, especially that first week or so when you're learning. They have a 1-800 number or an email that you can email, and they find their response rate to be very good. And they operate 9 to 9 Eastern time, Monday through Friday. But I also find on the weekends their email is they're very good at responding to professors or students. But to send an email to your instructor and say, I'm stuck, I don't know how to navigate the simulation, we cannot look exactly where you're at the moment. We may not see that for hours later. So it's best that you contact Capstone so they can help you in real time, and they can actually go in as you and look at where you're at and help you. They will not make decisions for you, nor will the instructor. Sometimes we have students saying, we don't know how to fix quality. We need you to tell us how to do that. We don't do that. We don't tell you how to fix your marketing issues. That's what you do as a team, and that's how you may have to make those decisions. We will give you feedback, can tell you what an overview of what your strengths are and what are some things you need to improve by looking at reports. You get various reports that you'll look at, and we help you with that. And we give you an overview, but we will never tell you how to fix your issues. Any questions? Dr. Ems or Dr. Menon, anything you'd like to add to the simulation?
I would just echo what Jim said. The Capstone support people are absolutely outstanding. And as Jim Dr. Logren has mentioned, while the instructors won't tell you how to fix a problem, if a team is really struggling, I know, myself, I'm more than happy to go to Capstone and ask them for some advice that I might pass along to a team that's struggling. Again, they're not going to tell you exactly step by step what you need to do, but they're more than happy to sort of point out where you're headed down the wrong road, and they'll bring you back onto the road and give you some tips and tricks on how you might go about resolving your current issues. So as Dr. Logren said, I find that they can give you much more superior answers. That's all they do, the people that work for them, and the people that work for them, they're absolutely outstanding. They're professional. They don't look down on the instructors or the students if they're struggling. They're there to help. And as Dr. Logren said, anytime between 9 and 9, you can call them or email them. They're very quick on the responses. They aren't really per se open on the weekends, but they will respond. It may not just be as quickly. So that's what I would say as far as the Capstone people are concerned. The other thing that I would probably want to reiterate is it's so important because you're working in teams, and we all have our own opinions on teams. They're great if everybody gives 100%. They're not so great if you've got one or two students that don't give 100%. You do have a bit of a weapon at your disposal, and that is the peer review. So that can impact a person's grade. But what I would say to all the members in the classes, if you're finding that you're running into an issue, your internet's not working, you've got a family crisis, you've got an employment crisis, make sure that you let the rest of your teammates know. If you can't make a meeting, let them know. It's important that there's always ongoing communication, and that eliminates the poor peer reviews. So if you do run into an issue where you're not able to complete a task, or you're going to miss a meeting, just give your teammates a heads up, and I think they'll be very forgiving. And as long as it's not a habitual issue, they'll always be considerate, and they're not going to give you a bad review because you missed a meeting. but it is important that you're always in constant communication. I do recommend each round that you do have one face-to-face meeting. I think it's important that you get to see the expressions on people's faces. Emails are great. Chat, texting is great, and sometimes that's all that's needed. But I do encourage students to at least have one face-to-face meeting in each of the rounds. It doesn't need to be, if you come prepared to the meeting, I think you can have the meeting in 45 minutes or less. So those are sort of the things that, as Dr. Logren said, I've been at it for a little while. I've been teaching the Capstone since 2015, and always with Capsum, and it's an absolutely beautiful simulation. It's fun to work with, and I, all the students are going to be in the same situation, sort of a deer in the headlights the first week, but and as I say to all the classes that I teach, by the second or third round, you'll all be experts at it. So those would be my comments, Dr. Logren.
All right. Well, thank you. And any questions from the students on the simulation part? I'm going to go into the Capstone. I'm going to go into the actual project here if we don't have any more questions.
Yeah, I did have one question. Is there like a specific iOS or Internet Explorer or web browser that they recommend to use, or do all of them work?
That's a great question. I would say Chrome is normally the one that we have the least amount of problems with. Firefox works just fine. Don't hear any problems. If you're using Safari, I don't recommend that even in Blackboard. So I think Chrome tends to be the one they recommend, but Firefox, I don't hear any issues with that. Any other questions?
Yeah, I would agree, Dr. Logren. I use Firefox, especially in Blackboard with Collaborate. You have to use, I find I have to use Firefox, and I'm an Apple guy from way back. So I'm always using Safari, but I find with academics, I need to be using Firefox. I haven't really gotten into Chrome because I found Firefox to be sufficient, but I've also heard that Chrome is excellent.
Did that answer your question?
Yes, it did. Thank you.
You're very welcome. So let's go into the project itself. In the project, you'll be working right from the get-go in this class, and this is going to be a project that you decide you're going to do. And this project is a minimum 20-page paper, but before you have an anxiety attack on that, you're going to be working on that throughout the entire 8 weeks. So you're going to be doing this in segments, and drafts. And so they're generally about 5 pages each. And so you'll get feedback from the professor and your fellow students. There's some weeks, starting week 4, where you put your draft up and get feedback from them. And so so that helps students really like to see other students' papers, because it gives them some idea as well, and very helpful to them. So what is this project like? Well, you have a few options. And the first thing is you can do a proposal, meaning picking something in an organization you know well that you know needs to be improved. And it has to be something that applies to your concentration in the MBA. So if your project management, some sort of project, if you're marketing, some sort of marketing aspect, entrepreneur, usually they pick a business plan, which I'll talk about in a second. Leadership usually talks about some sort of developmental, program. But whatever the case is, you need to select something that you have passion for. And we will never tell students what to write on. Every once in a while, I'll get an email from a student. They'll say, please tell me what to write on. I have no idea. And we're never going to give you, the perfect topic, although we have some ideas and some things to help you. But you really need to pick something that you have great passion. And so I'll give you some examples of past topics in a moment, but the gist of it is that it should be something that you can make improvements, that you can use your concentration on, that you can quantify in some way. So that you will have measurements. You'll be doing a lot of strategic aspect in this course. So if you remember, Business 525 is a very important component. So goals and SMART objectives will be an important aspect of this course, because you're going to be coming up with some overall goals that of this particular project that you want to accomplish. And the SMART objectives are tactics and how you accomplish those goals. So goals are big picture, and SMART objectives are specific, measurable, achievable, relative, and time bound. And so I would say that's the toughest part for students in the beginning, is to be able to get a grasp in terms of what are their overall goals and their tactics to achieve that. Some of the ideas that I have seen recently, we've had quite a few business plans recently, where it's everything from opening up a microbrew to a restaurant to a consulting. We just had a student do a marketing consulting project because marketing was the background. And then also you could look at a nonprofit. So perhaps your passion is something in your community. We had a leadership student a few terms ago. Her passion was young women in their community, and really from the ages of 17 to 20. She felt they were lost souls, and so she developed a center to teach them leadership techniques. And she was actually able to get backing from community leaders, church leaders, and politicians in her city, and was able to back this nonprofit for leadership for young women leaders. And so you could be very creative in a sense that it could be a nonprofit, it could be a new business, or it could be something that you want to improve. So maybe if your marketing is your concentration, maybe you want to enter a new market. Maybe you're not serving millennials very well, and you want to develop a product that better serves their needs. Maybe you want to improve production in your organization, and you're going to use project management to do that. There's a lot of different things you can do, and there's no one right answer. I would say 80% of the students pick a proposal that is something to improve, but it's not because it's necessarily easier. It's just because they work it every day and see an opportunity. And not everybody wants to open their own business. We've been getting more and more of those students that are developing a new product or service. We have a student this time that's opening their own coffee shop, and using some very interesting techniques to make it, open up a niche where it's all natural and using natural energy and those kind of things. So it's a very green coffee shop. So those things, I think, can give you some ideas. But number one, passion. Number two is making sure you have the resources available to you. So maybe you have a retention issue in your organization and you lose a lot of employees. You say, gosh, I want to come up with a way to reduce turnover of nurses in my hospital. That's a great topic, except if you don't have any data and your organization will not share anything with you, then you're going to be you won't be able to do it. So you need to know right ahead of time if you're able to get that information. So before you start this project, make sure that you have the information available to you. We do want you to select an organization that you know well and you can get access to. Every once in a while, we'll have a student that wants to select an organization they know nothing about. They may have passion for it. We had a student that had passion for Pepsi, and they wanted to develop peppermint Pepsi. That was their life passion. But they didn't work for Pepsi, knew no one at Pepsi. They didn't have any access to the data, and so that won't get approved. And so you need to make sure that you have the information necessary. You can't just get everything off the internet. We want to make sure that you're making sound decisions and you have the data that you would need to make an informed decision and understand the complexity of the issue. And so the last possibility that we have, so I talked about business plans or proposal, we're offering a new one this time, which I'm very excited about. And just to go back for the other two, all those those other two, they must connect to your concentration. So you must be able to connect it, and they must have a financial component. You have to do, it's a new business. You're going to do the P&L. You're going to do a break-even analysis. You're going to do those things that you would need to start a business. If you're a proposal, you're probably going to do a cost-benefit analysis on it. So you're going to do some financial. On this new component, new option that we have is that we're developing at Post University a new leadership center. And it will not be a physical building, but an online resource. And we want students, and again, it will be individual, that you select this topic. You can develop a mission, a vision of what this is going to be like. You're going to look at what services would you think is important to have in a leadership center? Who are the stakeholders that would take advantage of this leadership center? And we'll go over more in the details of this, but this is really kind of the dream of the director of the MBA, and asked us to get some very creative and innovative students to do this project. And we certainly won't force anybody, but if you have a passion for innovation, creativity, or leadership, you can be from any concentration. You do not have to be from the leadership concentration. Then probably the biggest bonus of picking this one, you will not have to do a financial analysis because we are not asking for profitability. We will ask for a quantitative analysis in terms of how to measure success, which might be the number of hits on our website. It might be the number of organizations that have joined this leadership center. Those are things that you can decide, but there will not be any financial analysis involved in it per se. There won't be any P&L. There's probably no cost involved in it or minimal cost. So with that said, I'd like you to get with your instructors. This first week in the course, you pick your topic. The first assignment that's due is you get a tentative approval on your topic. They'll give you more information on the center if that's what you want to do. And those are really the three options. Sometimes a student picks a fourth option. That would be to pick something that they learn in their concentration, but they're not going to apply to a specific organization. The best example I can give you that we have students select would be a social media strategic plan. That could be done for any business and how they can utilize social media to grow their business, to serve their customers, and so on. So that's another option. But as I said, that would be less than 2% of our students pick that one. And most of our students pick 1 and 2. And we're hoping to get several students pick the third one as well. One other thing I wanted to mention is that it would be wonderful if you could think about a topic that you have and know someone in the industry. It's not a requirement. And this could be a leader, a senior leader in your organization, but having some sort of internal mentor that can help you with the data and understanding the information necessary, we find to be very helpful, but it's absolutely not a requirement. But I think as you start to think about topics, think about in terms of finding that internal mentor. And this could even be somebody who runs a business in another town that you're interested in. We had somebody that opened before COVID, was going to open a gym, and they were able to find someone who had a very similar niche market and a gym that was about 100 miles away, and they were able to contact them and get ideas on that. Any questions on the Capstone project? The last thing I'm going to talk about is 2 other requirements that happen throughout the course. One is called the Peregrine or the Common Professional Component Assessment, which is a fancy name for an exam. Don't freak out about this exam, but just do your best on it. We do not grade you on your score. We look at it from a macro standpoint of measurement. We do not look at specific students. And you just have to have it done in the week that it is due. And you'll get a link to do it, and you just have to make sure you're done by the time period it tells you. But don't get upset. Occasionally I have students say, I worked so hard in this MBA and I don't like my score. Well, the score is an MBA nationally and internationally, so we don't have all the courses that all programs have. We have many, but there may be questions on business law. We don't have business law in our program. So we don't expect you to know all of them, but we really want to be able to assess the strengths and opportunities of our program. And then the last requirement is probably my very favorite aspect of the class. I look forward to it. It's done in week 7, and it's a reflection video. And this reflection video is a reflection of your MBA journey. That you're going to do this video, and it's a YouTube video that you're going to reflect on what went well, how'd you grow, what courses had the biggest impact on you, how can you apply what you've learned, and what suggestions or recommendations do you have for posts to further enhance the MBA program. We will never grade somebody down if you say, I really hated the finance class and I needed therapy afterwards and it was most awful experience. That's your, honest answer. However, we just want to make sure that you follow the requirement, that you reflect. And what I really like about it is that most students have a story. They might be the first person in their family with a college degree or a master's degree. They might be a role model to family members. We had a student a few terms ago that really changed their life around. And early on in their life, they were incarcerated. They changed their life around. They were involved with drugs, and they changed their life around and ended up earning an MBA, and never in a million years thought that they would have this opportunity. And to me, those things are inspirational and make it worthwhile to do the job that we do. And that's why I enjoy hearing those stories. And you can be as personal as you want to be. If you don't want to share some things, you certainly don't. But we just want you to be reflective and see, sometimes you don't realize how much you have grown. Until you really think about it. I think that's all I had, Emily. We're going to open up to the audience. Dr. Menon or Dr. Ems, anything you'd like to add? I know we're a little over, but if we could just a little couple minutes, anything you want to add, that'd be great.
Sure. I guess, Dr. Logren, you've covered everything pretty well and detailed, and just I wanted to add was we're here to support you throughout the entire process. Students, I have a quick 15-minute conversation every week to make sure that the progress is okay, and can give you any input or feedback on a project. I'll do that and get you engaged and kind of push you to move forward with the project. And I've been successful doing it, and students have appreciated it. So I open it up to my students to be open and call me anytime and project. And just one thing I wanted to add about the third option that Dr. Logren mentioned about, and that's a very I think it's very dear to our dean's heart, and she's really and I like the idea. I've had some discussions with both Dr. Logren and Lisa, our dean, and it's a very good thing because branding. We have a fantastic brand. We have Malcolm Baldrige School of Business, so we stand for quality. It itself is a great brand. Leadership Center is going to create more value to our brand. Anybody who wants to work on this project, we can work, make sure that we have a very good things, and also make sure that the center is a ability and a reality. Dr. Logren.
Thank you, Dr. Menon. Dr. Ems, any last thoughts?
I was just going to, Prakash, Dr. Menon took the words right out of my mouth. I was going to also comment on the leadership component of the Capstone project. I too find that to be a very exciting option for the students, and I'm certainly hoping that at least a couple of the students in my class take that route and choose to run with it. I think it would be an absolutely exciting topic to take on, and there's the boundaries are limitless on that topic, and again, for students that may not be as adept or as fussy on the financial components of the business plan and the proposal, the leadership option is the perfect way for them to go. So again, I'm also very excited about the leadership component, and I look forward to seeing a couple of the students in my class take that one on. So,
well, it would be a wonderful thing to place on your resume, to say that you developed a leadership center for post-university.
Yeah.
I think that would be very impressive. I'm going to now open it up to students for questions. Are you overwhelmed? Do you feel better? Do you feel like you at least know what to expect? Is there anything we can help you with?
I think I personally appreciate all of the information. I have been a little bit worried about approaching this course and what it would entail. So this definitely has given a lot of useful information. So hopefully I will survive the 8 weeks and walk away with my degree like I hope or plan, and be successful at it. So thank you for the information.
Absolutely. We want you to be successful, and we're a resource for you. So know that going into it. Emily, anything you'd like to add?
No, I have nothing to add, just that if
You'll do fine, Tammy. You'll be mine, I know.
If anybody needed the recording, if you wanted to listen to it again or anything, just reach out to either myself or Alan, and we can get you that over to you.
Thank you, Dr. Menon.
Yep. Thank you all for being here tonight. It shows, whether you're watching in the recording or being here, it shows that you're engaged and you want to do well. And so we just thank you for being part of this and look forward to helping you. So we wish you the best. Have a wonderful night, everyone.
thank you very much.